This is going to be a thorough review of Imitation Man by the House of Amouage. First, I'm going to give you guys a rundown so you have a general idea what the fragrance is about. Then I'm going to share how users rated the scent profile and the performance. My wife and I are going to share our impressions of it. And finally, I'm going to share my overall opinion after wearing it. Without further ado, let's get this started. What I get from the scent is a very retro floral. It makes me think of like literally neon lights and the musics of the 80s. It has this vintage clean feel. It has rose with this beautiful purple violet that's smoothly blended on top of a bed of leather. Absolutely love this fragrance. I don't think it's definitively masculine. I actually think it falls unisex, and I think the best season to wear it would be the spring. On average, users rated the scent a 7.4. Only about half of people would give it an 8 or above, and a quarter of people would give it a 6 or lower. Now, this rating distribution is very polarizing, and the overall rating is relatively low compared to fragrances on the website. That being said, to me, this is a beast mode 10. I think this is absolutely phenomenal. This just is the key to my heart. I honestly think this is something that I enjoy personally more than even Reflection Man. This is one of the best from Amouage in my opinion. That being said, this is niche, so even though this one's for me, the rating distribution and all that indicates that this is very challenging, and it definitely might not be for you at all. For longevity, it got an average rating of an 8.3. About 90% of voters are happy with how long it lasts, giving it an 8 or above. For me, I would give it a 9. It lasts the workday pretty much, but it's really going the whole time, and it's complex, it's changing. I like the scent. It doesn't fall flat. And it goes on for a full 8 hours, so it's a 9 for me. For sillage, it got an average rating of a 7.9. About 3 out of 4 people would give it either a 7 or an 8 as far as how much it projects. I would give it an 8, but I'm happy with that. This one's a really unique vibe, and I don't know if I'd really want this one to be room filling. So the performance on it's solid. The scent is extremely polarizing, but it's just one that has the key to my heart for sure. So this is one of the most complex fragrances that I've ever tried for sure. I've worn this for days just trying to understand it, and the scent just changes so much on me. But what I could say is an overarching theme, and what I get most on the opening is this beautiful blend of rose. And the rose, what makes the rose so interesting in this is it has a tart to it that almost reminds me of Delina. It's the only fragrance I could really cross-reference here. If you ever smell Delina and it has that regal, almost kind of sour smell to it, I don't know how they do that, but the rose in this kind of has that going for it. Really a sharp, almost tart rose, and it's smoothed out with violet. Violet is like, a purple floral mixed with a rose, and it creates this beautiful blend of these two elements where it's almost this smooth lipsticky rose, and it's all sitting on this bed of leather. Now, I wouldn't say this is a dominating leather fragrance, but I would say the leather is very well blended with the mid and the top to just add depth and give it a sense of masculinity. The leather almost has this kind of rubbery, almost plastic vinyl type smell, and it really just smooths everything out. But a lot of what I get from this is the blend of those three elements. That being said, there's also sometimes where I smell it, I'm like, man, this stuff, it has like a citrus going for it, like big time. Sometimes I smell it, I'm like, this is like a spring scent. And when I get that, I'm getting like a very citrus dominant scent, almost like a sweetness that reminds me of fruit. And the tart of the rose is like giving it a freshness to the citrus. And then the violet, it's not really as prominent in this phase. And the leather is not really as prominent. I'm just like, wow, this is like totally a citrus fragrance. And it gives me spring vibes. Sometimes I get this weird floral gardenia where it's like I'm walking in a garden full of these beautiful roses and violet flowers, and I'm not really picking up on the leather or the sweetness of the citrus or anything else. I'm just getting literally a beautiful garden full of roses and violet that almost has a smell of water going on in it, like a very photorealistic gardenia floral smell. That's the perfect blend of violet and rose. Sometimes I smell it and I get something that's very lipsticky. Like it reminds me of Frederic Mall's Lipstick Rose. Like it's just this almost lipsticky Marilyn Monroe kind of like metro kind of smell. And it's just very vintage in that phase, in that element, and the leather is still there, but it's really just supporting this almost vintage, very violet centric scent. And there are some times where I got turned off to this fragrance. This is few and far between, but it did happen where I was like just smelling powder, like a grandma fragrance, like literally just smelling like pure baby powder to some extent, like, and I couldn't escape that. And that happened, and I would be like, why am I wearing just pure powder? And I'd be like, for a temporary moment, I would kind of feel uncomfortable wearing it, but then I'd go back into another phase of the fragrance and love it again. This feels like an easier Amouage to like, actually. Like, I've read that this is very challenging, very polarizing, and in one sense, I get that. Okay, I get that, because the vibe of it is a bit different, and I'm gonna go into what the vibe is for me. The vibe is like nothing else in my niche collection, like nothing else I've smelled. To me, it produces a retro vibe, almost a metro vibe, almost like a 80s neon lights, that whole kind of culture. It almost makes me think of glamour rock. I feel like the reason it does that is how they would try to be pretty with the makeup and all that in excess, but they would be wearing red leather jackets. So it's kind of like this mix between glamour and rock and that whole vibe. It makes me think of red leather. And I think a lot of that is just the way the rose kind of creates this pink and purple component. And then the way the leather comes in, it just makes me think of that whole 80s red leather vibe. Even the leather with that kind of plasticky kind of rubber smell will make me think of like vinyl records on a red leather car seat with a new red leather car kind of feel. Overall, it just has this vintage vibe. It's really hard to describe, and it's like nothing else out there. And I feel like the vibe of it could turn people off. I feel like it could seem a bit out of place, like something that's hard to wear just because it feels out of place. But even though the vibe of it's really weird, I feel like on the other end, the scent itself is not really all that challenging. I think overall it's just this really nice, clean fragrance. Like it doesn't have any weird incense. I feel like there are animalics, but it's really just contributing to smoothing out the leather. I don't think this is particularly like animal or Middle Eastern or incensey. I almost feel like overall the way that this comes across in the air is this really nice, clean, violet, soapy fragrance that's fresh and honestly inviting. I feel like the scent itself isn't challenging, but then when you go into the vibe, it is extremely challenging. So I don't think that this fragrance is one that runs the risk of offending people in your space. I don't think there's anything really offensive about it. But I do think it runs the risk of maybe some people finding your fragrance choice a bit questionable, kind of like a, why is he wearing that moment? For me, that doesn't really bother me that much anymore. That being said, I wouldn't wear this to like a job interview or like to the first month at a new job. But I would have no problem wearing this in a situation where I'm confident and comfortable. If I've been working at a job regularly for a while and I've gotten to know people, I feel totally fine wearing this. And if somebody were like, why are you wearing that, and asking me, I would say because I like it, and that's it. I would let that awkward silence roll out for eternity, because that's such a weird question to ask people, in my opinion. It's like, why else would I be wearing it?
Okay, so we have Amouage Imitation. Imitation, that's the name. Let's do it. Ooh, I smelled it since it was down here, and I thought I was like, am I really? Yes, that's what it is. Is it violet what I'm smelling? Is it? I'm gonna say it's violet. Why? Because it does smell to me like those violet candies taste like. So it might be that. Might be violet. Okay, so I think this could be unisex. Again, is not the most 100% masculine scent that there's out there. It's very good. It smells very clean, floral, nice. I think there's no real age group on this. But for some reason, it does make me think about somebody who's more mature, like maybe in your 40s. I think you could wear this year round and it wouldn't be a problem. Okay, I give it a 5.
So this fragrance is 100% for me. I'm saving up for a bottle of it. I think it will provide something totally unique to my collection. It won't just be another redundant citrus or just another Middle Eastern fragrance. I feel like this is a vibe of itself, and I absolutely love it for what it is, and I actually find it very wearable. Feel free to comment with your opinions on this fragrance. I'm sure they're going to be polarizing. Subscribe for future content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.